Hey KidZone, this lesson is called The King Comes to Save. Jesus was getting ready for the very first Easter. He had come to bring the kingdom of light and life into a dark and dying world. He had come to save all God's children. But to do that, Jesus had to go to Jerusalem. It was a long, long journey from Galilee to Jerusalem. As Jesus traveled towards Jerusalem, he continued to make wrong things right again, healing people's sick bodies and calling them to come and follow him into the kingdom of heaven. On the way to Jerusalem, Jesus took 12 aside and said to them, "I'm going to tell you what is going to happen when we get to Jerusalem." You see, Jesus already knew what he needed to do to bring God's kingdom and save his people. Jesus said, "The Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and the teachers of the law. They will sentence him to death. Then they will hand him over to the Romans, who will make fun of him and beat him and nail him to a cross. But do not fear, for on the third day he will rise from the dead." This was actually the third time Jesus had told his friends what was going to happen, but they didn't really understand. Some of them still thought he was coming to be the king of the Jewish people, to form an army and lead them into battle to defeat their enemies, the Romans. But Jesus had something very different in mind. Jesus sent his disciples to get a young donkey from a nearby town. And God's own Son rode into Jerusalem, not on a great white stallion or a war chariot, but on a gentle donkey. Why did Jesus ride on a donkey? He did this to fulfill what the prophet Zechariah said.
City of Zion, be full of joy. People of Jerusalem shall see your king comes to you. He always does what is right. He has won the victory. He is a humble and riding on a donkey.
Jesus wanted to show everyone that he had come in humility to serve us as King and Savior. As Jesus moved towards the city gates, people gathered along the edge of the road. They laid down palm branches and their coats down on the road in front of Jesus. And all the people cried out, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven, glory in the highest." The crowds were excited that Jesus had come to Jerusalem. Even though they didn't understand who he was or what he had come to do. They didn't know God had sent Jesus to save them. Their hearts were still blind and deaf and mute. But that was going to change. Within 1 week, Jesus would save them. He would bring them out of the kingdom of darkness and in to the kingdom of light.